Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is your latest Manchester United news as a story came out today that Al Thani, if he gets hold of Manchester United, would be looking to bring in MBAPPE, CAMAVINGA and Kingsley Coman. Also reports from Germany that Manchester United are locked in a head-to-head battle within their recruitment team on whether to go for Osimhen or Muani, who we were speaking about yesterday. Lots more to talk about as well, but I think it's a fascinating story to start off with about transfer plans, big transfer plans, if Al Thani and QATAR were to get hold of the club. Personally, I think it's positive, but also I think there's a big negative as well, and we're going to get into that. There are concerns about a story coming about that. Absolutely 100%, of course there is. But before we get into all of that, you might see a little sign there that says Manscaped on it. If you don't know what Manscaped is by now, where have you been for the last couple of years? Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. This is the Manscaped 4.0 with its light, its 4,000 RPM engine, it's waterproof, it's got fantastic design. You can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with Manscaped with the code UnitedStand. Scan the QR code or go through the link in the description. Fantastic products. They've got brand new models out now, of which I've had for a couple of weeks, and I must say, fantastic. Very impressed with the results. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. They've also got the brand new design on the Weed Whacker, where you can get the Weed Whacker, which is for your nose. Again, you flicker this one up, it's got a light on it as well. Up your nose it goes. Whoa, whoa, that's powerful. Up your nose, that's where that goes, nowhere else. You can get it also together as part of the performance package. So check it out. You get your travel bag, these, deodorants, boxer shorts, 20% off and free worldwide shipping. What a great deal from Manscaped. Check it in the video description. How do you charge it? Electromagnetic induction. You just drop it in the charge point, take it out when it's charged. Bada bing, bada boom. Or should I say, bada bing, bada balls. Anyway, thanks to Manscaped, let's get on with the show and let's start off with this big story that's coming in from Manchester United, of course. It's coming in from Christian Falk, and basically what he said, German journalist Christian Falk, very close to Bayern Munich, he said, Sheikh Jassim's group want to go for Kingsley Coman, CAMAVINGA and Kylian Mbappe if their takeover of Manchester United is successful. Now, look, first of all, what does Christian Falk know about the takeover of Manchester United and the players that we would buy? He might know about Kingsley Coman. I think that would be the in. If you want to believe this story, I would imagine he's probably getting it from Kingsley Coman's camp at Bayern Munich, who then may have said that they want Mbappe and CAMAVINGA as well, because CAMAVINGA is at Real Madrid and Mbappe is at PSG. Obviously, PSG is owned by QATAR as well, so that might be the end. Where this story is coming from is Christian Falk. How much truth is in it? I think a lot of people will be quite positive about it because it shows intent. It shows major intent to improve Manchester United. And I think we can all agree that certainly CAMAVINGA and Kylian Mbappe would improve Manchester United a hell of a lot. So there is a positive there. There's also a big negative or two. The two negatives I would say that concern me about this is it's very speculative. It's a very speculative story. They are all French, RJ, as well. But it's a very speculative story, isn't it? And what concerns me about that is it just feels too speculative, too sensational to be true. Kylian Mbappe, CAMAVINGA and Kingsley Coman to Manchester United if QATAR get hold of the club. There's also a couple of red flags as well. What I'm actually surprised this hasn't. I think the British media and those that have been quite biased towards Sir Jim have probably missed a trick here, because this is a great story for them, because you've got two things that you can play here. Jan Åge Fjørtoft actually made a great point. He said, when I see stories like this, about transfers from somebody trying to buy a club, it makes me more confident that the other party's going to get it. So basically how I read it was that Fjørtoft was saying these sort of stories coming about what players you're going to buy makes me think it's going to be Sir Jim Ratcliffe who gets hold of the club. And I can sort of see that mentality, because when you think about it, it does feel a little bit like that, doesn't it? You know, and I'm going to buy Mbappe, I'm going to buy CAMAVINGA, and I'm going to buy Kingsley Coman. And it does sound like, yeah, if you marry me, I'm going to get you a Ferrari, get a big house, we're going to go on loads of holidays. I can see what Jan Åge Fjørtoft is saying. Now, I don't think Jan Åge Fjørtoft has got the inside track on who's going to get hold of the club, but ultimately, yeah, I do sort of see what he's saying there, that, you know, it does sound so it does sound so, what's the word, far-fetched that, you know, it could well be that there's something in that it's just, as I say, speculation, desperation, trying to make a load of noise around yourself in case you don't get the club and you can say this is what I was going to do. But we already know that anyway. We already know the potential of Al Thani and Qatar, if they get hold of the club, is to bring that sort of player in. Alex says, brilliant work ethic for the channel, Mark. Keep up the good work. I don't particularly want Mbappe. I'd rather spread our funds over quality and depth, says Alex. You're right. It sounds too much like it's an appeal to the fans. Why not just promise the entire French national team, says Stephen. So I think you could have concerns about that. That story could really concern you, that maybe Sir Jim is going to get the club, because we're now hearing, you know, ridiculous transfer stories from the Al Thani camp, if it has come from there. The second thing that would concern me about it, and, you know, I'll always be level-headed on this, and I think this is where maybe those that don't want Qatar, you know, some of the British media have missed the trick here, is that if he does and is stating that if he gets the club, he's going to buy CAMAVINGA and MBAPPE and Kingsley Coman, what does Eric Ten Hag think about that? Because one thing I've said about state ownership, or Al Thani, or Abu Dhabi, or Saudi Arabia, or Todd Boehly is, and there's quite a range there, so we're not just talking about state ownership, we're talking about very rich owners. I don't want the PSG model. And that sort of story, even though I don't think it's actually true, would concern me if it was. Because how can an owner that's not spoken to Manchester United manager, not spoken to the recruitment department, be saying, I want to buy CAMAVINGA and Mbappe and Kingsley Coman? We don't want that type of ownership. We don't want the PSG ownership. That's the only negative about anything to do with Qatar getting hold of Man United, is the way that they've run PSG. I don't think that's the right way of doing it, which makes me again think this story is just not true, because there's no... look, CAMAVINGA I think would be very welcome. Mbappe, you're not going to turn your nose up at that. Kingsley Coman, do we really need that player? I don't think we do. So, you know, I don't want an ownership model that's going to, you know, say we're going to do this, this and this without the manager knowing it. And that's what I mean about the media. I'm surprised they haven't picked up on that and gone, oh, this is why Qatar would be bad. They'll just buy players that the manager doesn't want. FIFA Crazy says, in a hypothetical world, would you take the Qatari ownership if they offered the Glazers the same deal as Sir Jim? No. I had to pause there because I was trying to understand what you say. So what you're saying is, if Al Thani was not going for a full sale and was going for what Sir Jim is, would you take that deal? No. I like the Al Thani offer because it's full sale. If Sir Jim was full sale and Al Thani was what Sir Jim's doing, I'd want Sir Jim. It's that simple for me. Hi Mark, I don't know if you've watched it, but Rod Thornley's interview on Under the Cosh gives an insight into poor change at club under Glazers, says PT5. I haven't, no. Mark, I hope you're doing great, says Gavin. I hope you are as well, Gavin. And Adam Crafton already mentioned what you just said, quote tweeting the Christian Folk tweet. So Jim would be stupid to spin. He is already in poll, says DK. Let me have a quick look at that then, because I haven't seen that. Because of course Adam Crafton was the Athletic journalist who has been pretty obvious that he doesn't want Qatar. He was the one at the weekend who basically said that why are United fans saying full sale and not just being Qatar in, because he's completely and utterly misread the situation. But he said this. Has he quote tweeted it? Oh no, he said that which would make... so he's quote tweeted it saying which would leave Man United facing an FFP charge. And they've not played in the Eredivisie. I don't think he's said anything other than that. But look, yeah, as I said, I think it's an easy way for those that don't want Qatar to sort of jump on it and say, you know, this is why we don't want them anyway. Look, I think it's an interesting argument. I really do. So if you're just tuning in, there's this story that if Al Thani got hold of the club, he'd want Mbappe, CAMAVINGA and Coman. I don't want to be run the way that PSG have been run, where, you know, you've got a player like Mbappe who's basically the director of football. You've got people who are buying players that maybe the manager doesn't want. You've got a front three of Messi and Neymar and Mbappe that's ridiculously talented but ridiculously imbalanced. I don't want that. I want to build a team. I really, really do. But I'll tell you this for free. If you're offering me the PSG model or Sir Jim and the Glazers for the next 10 years, I'll take the PSG model. We might not win anything, but it'd be bloody fun to watch, won't it? I'll definitely take the Real Madrid Galacticos over, another 10 years of the Glazers working with Sir Jim. 100%. The ideal model is the full sale with the wealth and Ten Hag in charge. But I will take wealth, full sale, and ownership sticking their fingers in rather than what we've had with the Glazers and what we're probably going to have with Sir Jim and the Glazers. I mean, it's a bit like what Chelsea have got at the moment. It's a mess. But you'd rather have a mess where your your owner's spending stupid money all the time than a mess where your owner is letting your stadium rot. Of course you would. So, look, if this is meant to be some sort of negative against Al Thani because he wants Kylian Mbappe and CAMAVINGA, I mean, come on. It's a little bit like being a kid at Christmas, isn't it? And, you're criticising your parents because they bought you loads and loads of toys and some of them you didn't want, over waking up in the morning and having an empty sack. I'm talking about present sack there, by the way. So, yeah, look, there's no comparison between buying Kylian Mbappe and, maybe enforcing your types of players on a manager compared to keeping the Glazers. There's none. DK says, then I misunderstood Adam Crafton's tweet. I mean, Sheikh Jazim's not Sir Jim. Shame both are SJ. Koeman probably briefed Falk. SJ doesn't need spin, says DK. I don't know which way it's going to go. I don't know which way it's going to go in relation to the sale, but I think it's an interesting story. I suppose, ultimately, would you want Kingsley Koeman at the club? I wouldn't mind him. Would I want CAMAVINGA at the club? 100%. 100%. Would I want Kylian Mbappe at the club? 100%. I wouldn't say no. I wouldn't say no at all. So yeah, I wouldn't mind Kingsley Koeman, but the other two I would absolutely like. So yeah, be very interested to see how that pans out. And ultimately, can I just say, having the Glazers in charge in any shape or form, and the debt, and trying to run the club pragmatically and organically and responsibly, will be like trying to run a marathon with a piano on your back. That's the job that Ten Hag will have over the next few years as Manchester United manager. If the Glazers stay and Sir Jim works with them, with the debt, it's going to be trying to run a marathon with a piano on your back. That's the simplest analogy I can give, because that's what we've seen, and that's what will happen. It'll be very, 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 very difficult. Very, very difficult indeed. So look, we'll have to wait and see on that. There is another story coming out as well. This is coming in from Germany and Pletty Goal, and basically what he's saying is that Manchester United are locked into a bit of a recruitment drive split, where some people in the club want Moani, and some people in the club want Osman. Now, I think that when you look at that sort of a scenario, the obvious question and answer is that you would want to go for Osman. But then the second scenario is that Moani's probably half the price. I think that the only thing I would say about that is we are already slow when it comes to transfers. So if we go for Harry Kane, it's going to take all the way till the end of August. If we're undecided on Moani and Osman, when are we going to decide? Because if you snooze, you lose. We are ridiculously slow at transfers, and we always have been. Our recruitment department are slower than a snail on sleeping pills. They are ridiculously slow. So please just make the choice and go and get the striker. Whether it's Harry Kane, whether it's Osman, whether it's Moani, go and get the player that Erik Ten Hag wants, and stop being undecided on it. And why would you be undecided on it? I mean, logically, Osman over Moani, isn't it? So is it a price thing here? Is it a price thing? Is it actually, you can go for Osman, but you're not going to get a centre-back. But if you go for Moani, you can get a centre-back and a midfielder. Maybe that's what's going on. Because as much as Moani's an interesting striker, there's no way that you wouldn't go for Osman unless it's to do with the price and how you can, stretch the transfer money more if you go for Moani. When do you realistically think we will hear about the sale? Thanks again for all you do, says Sean. Thank you, Sean. I'll come back to that. Qatar equals Mbappe. Glazers Sir Jim equals Big Vout back on loan, says Dazzo. I've just joined, so this is unrelated, but I adore you, Mark, says Luke. You and your videos keep me going, that is all. Well, we've got a great community, Luke. Thank you very much for the kind message. Genuinely scares me how some people are saying no to Mbappe because he's a diva. We failed for the past decade because fans praise mediocre players. And the thoughts of another 20 Glazer-style ownership years makes me sick to my stomach. Depressing. Hopefully good news soon. See you in Dublin, says the social media mix. Yeah, looking forward to the Dublin show, mate. Great to hear that you're coming. Thank you very much for your message. Also, Shahin says that maybe Qataris should let Glazers stay. Give them some advisory roles to make them feel important, similar to when you give unplugged controller to your younger brother. Thanks for the super chat there, Shahan. You can do that through the $ like Shahan if you want. Hi, Mark. I'd be happy enough just to get the Glazers out, says Gary. And Axel says owner in is most important, but I'd look for less flashy players at teams that need to sell. Højlund, Barella, Marino at Sociedad, Silva at Benfica. Look, I completely agree. I mean, I'll go back to that question as to when I think we're going to hear about the sale. I think that's the $1 million question. I think there's some fantastic journalists out there, and there's some fantastic people that would be more than happy to give the information of what's going on if there was any news. People are desperate for that news. There is no news at the moment. I stick with what I said this morning. I think the Glazers are undecided. I think what's happened is they put the club up for sale because, you know, some of the siblings of the Glazers want a sale. Joel and Avram didn't. So I think they thought, well, let's put it on the market and see what happens. And now you're at the end of that process where you know what the offers are, you know you can stay. And I think they're still undecided because I don't think they ever really knew if they wanted to sell in the first place. And now they're sat there going, do we sell? Do we stay? Do we do another round of bids? I think at the moment they're just undecided. And again, you know, it's just poor ownership because sat there being undecided. I mean, look, we could have been in this position a month ago. If they hadn't gone for the third round of bids, which has done nothing, a month ago they'd be in this position. So they've lost us a month anyway ahead of the transfer window. Steve says, I want Erik Ten Hag Steve says, I want Erik Ten Hag involved, but not in charge. We need a director of football to be in charge ultimately, as a proper structure needs to outlive managers for better continuity. I think that's a great point by Steve. You're right. But Steve, I'll come back to you and say the reason I want Erik Ten Hag in charge of transfers is because I trust Ten Hag more than I do Murta and our recruitment team. So I want Ten Hag to be listened to at the moment. But you're absolutely correct. A good football club should actually have a director of football who will be a legacy person beyond the manager if it goes wrong, if the manager decides to leave or get sacked. You're right. But we don't have that director of football at the moment. So ultimately, that's why I trust Ten Hag more. But it's a great point. I want Osman because he's so good, but he's a final piece to the puzzle. In your own words, Mark, bake the cake before putting the cherry on top, says Brandon. And Bourbon with Friends has just gifted 10 memberships. What a legend you are. Yeah, I mean, look, going back to that story that if Al-Thani gets hold of the club, he'd want MBAPPE and CAMAVINGA. Look, the most important thing for me this summer is that we get a centre-back who can play at the right. I don't know whether you watched my video yesterday on our new series, which is Sign 'em Up, and was comparing Timber and Kim Min-jae. I think Kim Min-jae is absolutely perfect for what we need, so I would like him. He's got a release clause at the end of June. We should be all over that. I would like Kim Min-jae. I would like a really good midfielder and a top-class striker. And anything beyond that is fantastic. Obviously, I think we should be selling players. Dean Henderson's got to go. You don't need to keep a goalkeeper of that quality. And look, people think I don't like Dean Henderson. It's not that. I don't like the way it goes when he's at the club. I just think his ego is very much that he wants to be number one. And that doesn't work. You can't have two number ones. It doesn't work. You can't have two number ones. There's very, very few examples of two high-profile number ones working together. So if you're going to give De Gea a new contract, you're not then going to sell him. So Henderson's got to go because it will just get silly. And also Henderson, you'll get 20 million for. I think Maguire's got to go because you can't have a fourth or fifth choice centre-back who is, you know, on 200 grand a week. So you've got to move him off. One of McTominay and Fred have got to go, 100% there. we've got to get some players out the door. Evening, Mark. Great show as always, says James. Thoughts on our chances of getting Casido with Rice linked to Arsenal and McAllister likely to Liverpool? James, I feel like McAllister is going to be a Liverpool player. I think you're absolutely correct about that. Obviously, interesting that Jude Bellingham's going to Real Madrid. What did I say? What did I tell you? I've always said there's no way Man United are going to buy Jude Bellingham. And every time I've said that, and we still get linked to him, we were way too late for that race. Liverpool, Real Madrid have been working on that deal since last summer. Liverpool dropped out. Real Madrid are there to pick it up. Whether Man City were they in? I don't know. But Man United were never in that race. So, yeah, you're right. If Rice goes to Arsenal and McAllister goes to Liverpool and Bellingham's going to Real Madrid, then where does Casido go? Man City are going to be in the market for a midfielder, I think. Do you think we're going to go for Frimpong because Shaw is our new centre-back, says Sean from Ireland? No, I don't. I think we're going to sell Wan-Bissaka, I think. Mark, thoughts on MBAPPE, says Coin Exponent. The league need a counterweight to Haaland and Rashford's place in the team, says Coin. Well, look, I don't think we'll sign MBAPPE. I think MBAPPE will go to Real Madrid. It amazes me how Real Madrid can attract these amazing players off their name, and yet the La Liga isn't anywhere near as good as the Premier League. But it's that pull of Real Madrid that will take players like Bellingham and MBAPPE. But would I want MBAPPE at Man United? To be honest with you, yes on talent, but no on build. Like the wages, the transfer fee would be a huge problem for us at this moment in time. But you can't say no to a player like that. If Ten Hag wanted Mbappe, do you think Sir Jim would buy him? And who do you think is realistic that Jim would buy, says Ashton? I think Sir Jim Radcliffe's going to suit Sir Harry Kane, doesn't he, really? Whereas I think with Qatar, the sky is the limit, isn't it? Vig says, we don't need organic growth at United. We're already grown and have hit our plateau. We need that mega wealth to injection to take us back to the top. Leaks says, hi Mark, as United fans are worried about top 4 FA Cup transfers and all Glazers are doing is dragging this whole process. It's becoming exhausting. And John Davies says, I think Harry Kane is a certainty. I just hope he is in a shirt and on tour with us to get as much pre-season as possible, says John. Look, I've always had a hunch that we're going to sign Harry Kane. I said it back in October. I still have that hunch. But unfortunately, John, I also have the concerns around Harry Kane. And one of them is that what is the point in buying a striker who probably won't make his debut till mid-September after the international break because Spurs won't sell him until the end of the window at the end of August. Jose says, I think Lindelof is a good player, but if the new centre-back is going to be right-footed to give Varane competition and then the backup to Martinez is Shaw, then I don't see why we should keep him, says Jose. I just can't see us selling Maguire and Lindelof, Jose, that's why. But you know what? We're having all these conversations because we should be having these conversations. Traditionally, 3rd of May, you're starting to look towards the end of the season and a big summer transfer window. And there's no international tournament this summer. So transfers are easier to work on because players aren't playing in big tournaments. So, of course, conversations about different types of transfers are relevant. But the problem is, we're sort of, we're not in that conversation, but we are in that conversation, if that makes sense. It's like there is a transfer window going on and we should be talking about these types of things. But unfortunately, Erik Ten Hag is on fast track to repeat what happened last year. Last year, he won the title with Ajax in the middle of May, and the next day he was in Manchester because he knew he needed to be to sort out the transfer targets. And it was still a really challenging summer transfer window. This year, he's been in Manchester all season, but he can't get working on transfers because he doesn't know who's going to be in charge. So he doesn't know what transfer activity he can do. It's not great. And many of us have been talking about this for a while. The plans in the summer are not great. Now, I'm not naive enough to say that, Ten Hag has probably said he wants Kane, De Jong and Timber or whoever. But maybe Sir Jim and the Glazers can't afford to get him those 3 players. And maybe if Qatar get a hold, they'll go, we can get you better than that. See what I mean? So, I'm not saying that Sir Jim doesn't know what players he wants, but I'm saying the ownership model in the summer, and there are 3 scenarios, the Glazers could still be here on their own. But if it's Sir Jim and the Glazers, maybe they can't afford all the players that Eric wants. And if it's Althani and Qatar, maybe they'll say to him, we can get you better. So, how can you plan? How can you plan on many different scenarios of which you don't know what they're going to be? AJ says, hi Mark, just having a nice drink on vacation, thinking we have to go for guys that are out of contract like Kamada and Thuram, says AJ. But if we're going for players out of contract, AJ, that just shows what a mess it is, because we should be going for the best players that are available for Ten Hag. Diego, thank you very much for joining the members club. And talking of that, Tracy Taylor's just gifted a membership. You're a legend, Tracy. Don't forget tomorrow night as well, Manchester United against Brighton. Really looking forward to this. Brighton are such a good team. They'll be coming for us. They'll be having a go at us, and it's a big game, isn't it? Stephen Rossi says, I can see a scenario where there is no sale. Radcliffe becomes an investor that helps keeps the Glazers in, and no real funds for summer transfer window, says Stephen. Waz says, would you make the Sabitzer deal permanent? I think this is a great question. Remind me to come back to that. Alex says, I think Sheikh Jassim was offering $6 billion. They would take it. Glazers want a full sale. They know what's going to happen. If they don't have the feeling it will be Qatar, they are playing mind games, says Alex. I don't know. I mean, I was just thinking about it then. If my mood changes all the time when I think about the sale in depth. I'm 50-50 whether it's going to be Sajim or Al Thani. Sometimes I can really feel it's going to be Sajim and the Glazers, and then other times I think, no, it will definitely be a full sale. So I'm like that. I've got no idea which way it's going to go. I'm just moving off moods, really. DK says, even on their last meters of control, the Glazers are draining me and I feel depressed. Friends just waiting for Jim to take over and laugh at me, says DK. And what do you think about Scamacca from West Ham as striker, says Darren? Well, I liked him in Serie A, but it's not worked out at West Ham. And, you can say that's about West Ham, but I wouldn't really be going for him, really. Hi Mark, do you think Sheikh Jassim would reach the Glazers directly to finish the deal? And do you think we can get rid of Deadwood quickly? Cheers, mate, says Sheriff. I don't. I think there's a good... I'm going to come back to Sabitzer in a minute, but I think there's a good point there from Sheriff. If I'm being completely honest, I don't think we can have a good transfer window now. I think it's already too late. And that's just based on years and years of experience of this Manchester United transfer policy. I think it's already too late. I don't think you can get hold of the club quick enough, bring in competent people, and get the best players and move the players you need to move out in the time that's left. I just don't think you can. We're going to be on tour in just over 2 months, and the season doesn't end for another month. I don't think we can get everything we need done to have a good summer transfer window. And remember, even if Al Thani or Sajim get hold of the club by the end of the month, their director of football is still going to be John Murtagh. Their CEO is still going to be Richard Arnold. The people doing the negotiations are still going to be the people that did them last year. They're not going to get those changes done that quick. I think that we should raid Southampton. Some quality there at decent prices, says Leo J. Well, apparently Lavia is going to Chelsea, isn't it? I heard. Mark, did you see Eric Ten Hag with the green and gold scarf? He gave it a spin, says SK. I did. Going back to the Sabitzer question, I saw some quotes from Sabitzer today, basically saying that everything at Manchester United is bigger than Bayern Munich. He says the right things, Sabitzer, but it's a lower 50-50 here, but let's just do a poll on this, actually. I'm 50-50 on Sabitzer. I don't know that he's done enough. Would you sign Sabitzer? And I think the thing for me is, if we were getting rid of McTominay and we were going to sign De Jong and Sabitzer, yes. But if you're going to get Sabitzer instead of a Casido or a De Jong, it has to be a no. So, for me, I don't know Sabitzer. I don't think Sabitzer's done enough. I really don't think he's done enough yet. I think in the last few weeks, he's done a lot more than he'd done at the start of April. And we've still got another month to go. But the worrying thing about Sabitzer for me is that he's already settled into the bench midfielder, isn't he? He's already not really starting. It's still Bruno Eriksson and Casemiro, and Sabitzer will play if Bruno gets shoved to the right. I think he's got the talent. I think he's the right sort of player. I think you've got to assume that Donny's going to leave as well. So really, Sabitzer coming in as the Donny replacement probably does work. But the most important thing for me is if we keep Sabitzer, there still has to be a Casido type player coming into the club. It can't be Sabitzer. It can't be Sabitzer. He can't be the next. He can't be the De Jong alternative, or the Casido alternative, or the Kone alternative, or the McAllister alternative. He's got to be the replacement for Fred or McTominay if we're going to do it. Rose says, what do you think of these rumours that Sheikh Jassim's offering the 4 or 5 billion, but including lots of other investment opportunities for the Glazers, like bringing the NFL to Qatar and whatnot? Says Rose. Well, it's all speculation, Rules. Of course it is. We can't we can only comment on speculation, but we don't know what's going on. As I say, I think you can convince yourself that Sir Jim's going to get hold of the club based on what we've heard. But you can also convince yourself again that Al Thani's going to get hold of the club. We've spoken about it, and you're right. Tampa Bay Buccaneers is a Glazer team, and the NFL has played in Europe with great success. They've just held a World Cup in Qatar. If you can take the NFL to Qatar, you can make a lot of money there. You can definitely make a lot of money there. So, you know, it's an attraction. But is it a bigger attraction than keeping hold of Man United, which is what Joel and Avram want to do? Since Sir Jim and Sheikh both signed NDAs, then how are all these reporters giving details, says Ali. Good point, but I think what I would say is I wouldn't discard the info that's out there. I think there's so many people involved, and remember, sometimes it won't be Sir Jim and Al Thani putting it out there. It could be people close to the Rain Group who are trying to put it out there purposely so that Sir Jim and Al Thani know about it, so that they might bump the price up as well. You know, everybody's playing a game here. Everybody's leaking stuff out here. Glazers could be leaking stuff out. Rain Group could be leaking stuff out. It's all about that. It's all about that. And it's all about the upper hand. And also, you know, you are dealing with a very passionate fan base. So if you are going to get hold of United, you sort of want them to know what you're going to do. Imagine if we'd never heard anything. And then next week, the Glazers say, we've sold the club to Sir Jim. And everyone goes, oh, that sounds good. But we're staying, and so is the debt. Everyone will be like, what the hell? I mean, that's going to happen anyway. But, you know, I think bits of it have to come out so that people are aware and prepared. 74% of you would keep Sabitzer. Only 26% wouldn't get rid. I think that's good news. I do. I'd be more 50-50 at this moment, because I think there's a few parameters to that. As I say, I would want to know that Sabitzer was coming in to replace Fred or McTominay, and that we were still going to buy. Look, absolutely have to buy a player that can play Casemiro's role. Ideally, somebody that is more of an 8 but can play 6. And people quite rightly mention Mainu, but look, is he going to come in and take Casemiro's role next season? Of course he's not. We need to have somebody that can do it. The fact that we've got nobody that can do that role is ridiculous. It's ridiculous for any team in Europe that wants to be successful in their domestic league or the Champions League. You've got to have it. And we've seen it this season with the amount of suspensions Casemiro's have. McTominay is not a CDM. Bruno is not a CDM. Sabitzer is not a CDM. They can all do a job sporadically, you know, emergency. But you need somebody who can do the job 4 or 5 games in a row. And we don't have that, so we've got to get someone. Wouldn't Mbappe coming start a conflict with Rashi, says Ryan? Well, look, I can't sit here and say that Man United are going to sign Mbappe, because it sounds as ridiculous as it sounds. But on the other hand, we've been talking about this for a few months. We've never had this type of ownership before. And if we get it, you can only look at Man City and go, well, look at what Man City have done with Haaland and De Bruyne and Grealish and all these players they've bought. If Man City can go from a team that, you know, wasn't really very relevant in the Premier League to a club that's got the best manager in the world and the best team in the world in the space of a decade, then what can a team that is very relevant do over the next few years with that type of ownership? I'd be lying if I sat here and said if we get bought by Al Thani, we won't sign Mbappe. Of course you can. Of course you can. We could sign Camavinga. We could sign Mbappe. You know, we could be buying Bellingham in 3 or 4 years. Once you are in that league, anything becomes possible. But do I Do I want to waste oxygen thinking about Mbappe and what that means for Rashford? No, because we're not owned by those people at the moment, are we? And I'll tell you for free, if we get bought by Sir Jim, we're never buying a player like Mbappe. It's just never going to happen. Never going to happen in a million years. Cole says, talking about NFL games in Qatar, I don't think NFL games would be played there. It would be very controversial in America, says Cole. Well, I don't know. I don't know about that. After a terrible injury, Donny needs to be given one more chance, says Just a Yank. And hi, Mark. What are your thoughts on the Dybala 12 million release clause being available to European clubs? And would you take him at United, says Sam? I mean, Dybala nearly joined United a few years ago, apparently, didn't he? And he always gets linked to Manchester United, Dybala. I don't know. I don't know about Dybala, to be honest with you. It feels to me like a player that ship has sailed a little bit. And yeah, I don't think Dybala for me really is what we should be looking at. So Jim to buy the 50%, then sell that to Qatar, like what Michael Knighton wanted to do, says Lee Berman. And we have to look at guys like Sangari from PSV, says AJ. I think Sangari is really interesting because a lot of people said we should have gone for him in the summer. And my answer to that was, I like the look of him, and I think he was a really interesting player. Obviously, we ended up with Casemiro, so there's no contest. But the fact that we've never moved for Sangari is really interesting because Erik ten Hag would know about him as much as anybody because it was PSV against Ajax for the title last year. He was managing in that league, so he will know Sangari firsthand. And if Ten Hag doesn't want Sangari, then I trust Ten Hag because he would know about him more than most of us. So, look, the links with Manchester United and Sangari have been really, really weak. We've never really had strong links to him, and yet Ten Hag would know him really well. So, I don't know. Don't you think Sir Jim is Kane and Qatar is superstars, but need to be carefully and not too many like the PSG model, says Michael. I would agree with you on that, Michael. Very good point. I don't remember David Gill, Magnia and McManus getting any stick for selling to the Glazers. Thoughts? We didn't know what was going to happen then, says David Page. Look, mate, I'll always admit that the fan base could have done a lot more around the sale to the Glazers, but there was a lot of fans that did do a lot at the time. So, I think it would be wrong to suggest that United fans didn't do anything when the Glazers got hold of the club. There was a lot of people who could see this coming and didn't want it to happen. But I suppose because it was new and unprecedented, until you've seen the danger, some people weren't aware of the danger, but some people knew it was going to happen and they were very vocal about it at the time. It never should have happened. It never should have happened, and the people who were pro it happening within the club, and obviously some people put the blame on Sir Alex as well, which I just can't do that. I think he's a great man, and he delivered so much success. He's almost beyond reproach for me. But the deal that was done, it wasn't like the Glazers walked in and said, stick your hands up. This is a robbery, and it was a robbery. It wasn't a robbery in the sense of the people who let it happen, whether it's the Premier League or the people at United who did it. It should never have happened. Is Sabitzer a superstar player? No. Can Sabitzer play in every midfield position without a drop of quality? Yes. This is the bench player we need, says Felix. Thank you very much. And do you think you could get a situation when Sir Jim and Qatar go 50-50, says Dazzo? Well, I think we'd all take that over keeping the Glazers in power, yes. But I don't think it works. I've got to be honest, it doesn't work. I said this a few weeks ago. Why are we doing 50% deals, 20% deals? United needs 100% ownership. It needs a captain on deck. I wouldn't with my best mate. I wouldn't go halves on a Ferrari. You can have it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'll have it Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I wouldn't want to do that because you get it, and if they it might smell a bit different. They might not have hoovered it out. Might not have filled the tank up. In this situation, look, football is the most opinionated sport out there, isn't it? If I was the owner of Man United, and one of you was the owner of Man United, we might think we're going to get on because we've got a common goal. But you'd probably say I want Timber, and I'd say I want Kim Min-jae. You'd probably say let's give Sabitzer a new deal, and I'd probably say no, I want De Jong. You know, we wouldn't agree on everything because football is so granular in its opinions. You're never going to agree on everything. Like most people would agree, let's sell Harry Maguire. Most people would probably agree, let's sell Dean Henderson. Most people would say, let's get rid of Fred or McTominay. But not everyone's going to say, get rid of Sancho. In fact, most people would say don't. But then some people might say yes. There's always going to be disagreement because football, there's so many options in football. And what about signings? I want Kane, you want Osimhen. You know, you need somebody in control, who is making the decisions. Because if you've got too many cooks, or even two cooks, it's not good enough, is it? You don't want Gordon Ramsay and Jamie Oliver cooking your steak. Imagine them there. Oh, let's put a bit more butter on. No, let's give it a turn. All right, I want to take it off the heat. No, keep it on. It's just, you know, they're great chefs, some would say. But I only want one of them to cook my steak. And, yeah, I don't think 50-50 ownership of Al Thani and Sir Jim is what I want. Nowhere near that's not what I want. I want a full sale. Whoever it is, I want a full sale. Mark, will you autograph my calf in New York if I get it tattooed onto me afterwards? Says Noah. Oh my God. Stephen says, I remember when the Glazers took over, the Glazers are to blame for squandering any goodwill Sir Alex tried to raise for them with the fans, says Stephen. Thank you very much. And Steve says, I don't want bench players. We need 24 starting 11 caliber players. Let them compete for starting places, says Steve. Well, that you're right. That is the standard. That is 100% the standard. You know, I look at that Manchester City side tonight. They're not quite winning yet, but you look at it. They have made changes. They've had 80% possession. They've got Ortega in goal. They've got Mahrez on the wing. Alvarez is playing. You know, there's no De Bruyne. He's not even on the bench. They've made changes tonight, and that's the quality, isn't it? I mean, Mahrez starts for anybody. He starts for anybody, doesn't he? But he doesn't start for Man City at the moment, and that's what you want. You want that level of quality. I mean, Calvin Phillips is he's not even in starting when he's made rotations. Just don't want to get Arsenal fans excited. Man City have had 80% possession. It's 0-0 at the moment, but they will score. They're going to score at some point. Too many cooks spoil the dish, says Food Mania. Exactly. Exactly. Foden doesn't even start for them as well. Yeah, I mean they've got bloody Foden and Mahrez and Calvin Phillips who aren't starting. So I agree. I think I said this before though. Any player we buy for Man United now should be a first team player. Let them scrap it out in the training. Some of them will get injured. Some of them will drop form. Buy a first team player. Don't buy a bench player. Never buy a bench player if you want to compete for titles, because ultimately that's not the way to build a squad. You know, you buy the best. Like somebody said to me the other day, why do you want De Jong? Where would he play? What would happen to Eriksen? And I'm like, I don't care. Maybe De Jong would go on the bench at the start. You know, maybe Eriksen goes on the bench. Maybe Eriksen plays where Bruno is and Bruno goes on the bench. Like, I don't care. Let them solve that problem. As a manager, what a choice to have. Oh, am I going to play Eriksen or De Jong? Brilliant. I'd rather that than am I going to play Eriksen every game because I don't want to pick McTominay or Fred, you know? Dino, welcome to Members Club. Thank you very much. Arshan has done us a super chat as well. He says, Mark, would you rather have Speed or Weghorst up front? Come on, let's not disrespect Weghorst that much. I like the fact that Weghorst was so desperate to come to the club. I like the fact that he's a nice guy. I like the fact that he gives his all. But previous comment still stands. We need players that are, you know, good enough to start for Man City, and Weghorst ain't good enough to start for Man City, is he? Come on, you hammers, says Zane. And Liverpool are closing in. Oh, what's all this Liverpool crap about? Liverpool are winning, right? So Liverpool are winning at the moment, and they're 4 points behind Manchester United. We've got two games in hand, and we're 4 points ahead of you. I ain't worried about Liverpool catching us. I mean, look at our fixtures. We've got bloody Bournemouth to play, Fulham to play, Wolves to play. Liverpool's last few games, Brentford at home, they'll probably win that. Leicester away, I don't know. Villa at home, and Southampton away. I mean, look, Liverpool might win all their games and get 71 points, but I don't see United not getting top four, and I don't see Newcastle not getting top four. And in a way, wouldn't it be funny if Liverpool did win all these games and still didn't get top four? It would be quite satisfying as a United fan and as a Newcastle fan to go, ha ha, you went and won your last 7 games and you still didn't get top four. You won 7 games in a row, you beat us 7-0 or whatever it was, but you still didn't get top four. So bring it on. They've got to go for it. Fair play. And I think Liverpool are one of 2 clubs in this league that are capable of going and winning 7, 8, 9 in a row. But come on, seriously. We've got 2 games in hand, even if they do win tonight. 4 points behind us. 2 games in hand for us. And our run-in, really, Liverpool can only get 71 points, by the way. We're already on 63. So basically, we just need 3 wins from Brighton away, West Ham away, Wolves at home, Bournemouth away, Chelsea at home, Fulham at home. Look, we should beat Fulham at home 3. We should beat Chelsea at home 6. You only need 3 points from Bournemouth away, Wolves at home, West Ham away, Brighton. I just can't see it. If Liverpool get top 4 and we don't, that's a bottle job, 100%. And it won't happen. I've got faith in Ten Hag and these players. Have some faith yourself. Don't start panicking. Nobody could have stopped the Glazers because the club was 100% floated on the stock exchange, so they just kept increasing their shareholding, says Glenny Boy. And can we have a poll? Would you MBAPPE or not? And the only reason PSG are not successful is too many stars. If we got one, it would help us and them, says Michael Arthur. And Jude should have joined the Arteta revolution. Only Beckham and Bale have done well in Spain, says Zane. And didn't FC United of Manchester form after opposing the Glazer takeover? Yes, they did, Daz. Yes, they did. Let's just do this quick poll then, because I'm intrigued. Would you take MBAPPE at Man United? MBAPPE. I don't see it need to say at Manchester United. We're all. It's the United stand. We know what's going on. Please do subscribe to the channel, by the way, and make sure you smash a like on the video if you're watching, and you are going to click yes or no anyway, so you may as well click a like. Beckham didn't flop in Spain at all. Bloody you're a prat. You're an absolute prat. Beckham did not flop in Real Madrid at all. He went to... the problem with Beckham was he went to play for Real Madrid in a Galactico team that didn't have balance. That was they just bought all the best players, but they didn't build a team. But basically what PSG have done, really. No, Real Madrid fans love David Beckham. He was very good at Real Madrid. Very, very good at Real Madrid. Don't be slagging Beckham off on here. I'll block you. Do you think there's any chance of us not getting top 4? Well, there's always a chance. If you want a percentage, I'd say I'm 80%, 85% sure we'll get top 4. So we're not going 90%. But look, I never predicted we'd get top 4. I always thought that top 4 was too much for us this year because it was, too many games, not a big enough squad. Everything that's gone on this season. I mean, we forget the Ronaldo saga was this season, don't we? So look, I think we will get top 4. And I think if we don't get top... Look, as I said, it really comes down to this. You've got 6 games left. You need 3 wins. 3 wins from 6. Come on. Or, effectively, you need 9 points. 2 wins and 3 draws. However you do it, it doesn't really matter. But 9 points, Liverpool can't do anything about it. They can't get 72 points. That's what we need, 9 points. And that's assuming Liverpool win every single game. So, look, even if we lose to Brighton tomorrow, we should beat West Ham away. 3 points. Wolves at home? Come on. 6 points. Bournemouth away? They are in a relegation battle, but even if you took a point there, that's 7 points. That means you just need 1 win from Chelsea and Fulham. So I can't see how we don't do it, and I'm not worried about it. It makes it a bit exciting. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's. I think we'll do it now. Did Avram contact you about this morning's offer for a kiss? Says L1. I haven't checked my emails yet, actually, so you never know. But yeah, he can kiss my arse on his way out anyway. There we go. Start streaming on Twitch. A bit too late for that now. Why not? I was meant to be on Twitch today, but I was on a phone call about something I had to take, and it ended up being quite a long phone call. Summer plans. Do you think the number 7 will be given to Garnacho in the summer? Wrexham want me to play at the centre back. Me and Ben, dream team. No, they don't. Do you think the number 7 will be given to Garnacho in the summer? Says Leo J. I think I think that's an interesting question. That number 7 shirt's got to go to somebody. You can't just keep it. You can't just not give it out, because we've had Michael Owen in the 7 shirt. We've had some crap number 7s, haven't we? So you can't just say no one's having the number 7 shirt because it doesn't suit them. But who has the number 7 shirt next season? Do you think Rashford would want to take it? You know, there might be a bit of a brand Rashford there for that. I think Bruno would suit it. I don't think he'll take it. Sancho with number 7. If he's not going to start games, it probably doesn't work. I mean, I always thought it was going to be Sancho. I've got to say, I did think it would be Sancho. And Tenel says that. I always thought it would be Sancho. It still might be Sancho. But my problem with that is that if he's not going to start, you're sort of demeaning the number 7 shirt there. And are you putting a bit of pressure on him when, oh, he's the number 7 and he can't even start? So, look, if Sancho could start being our starter, I'd give it to him. But it might not be the best move at the moment. Do you think the number... So who gets the number 7 shirt for me? Look, maybe we sign somebody. You know, Mbappe, Messi. I don't think there's an obvious choice at the moment, really. Rashford left wing, Mbappe striker, Anthony right wing with Bruno, Frankie de Jong, Casemiro sounds scary. Just to think about it, I'm still a little bit worried about Mbappe's mentality, though, says Mario Franco. What a player he is, though. What a player he is. I mean, it'd be great to have Mbappe and Haaland in the league, wouldn't it? I mean, we've never had that. It would almost be our version of what Ronaldo and Messi did in La Liga with Barcelona and Real Madrid. Imagine if Man City had Haaland and Man United had Mbappe. I mean, you can't say no to it, can you? I understand the concerns, but you wouldn't say no to it. 74% of you would take him at Manchester United. Well, we started with that, and we'll come back to that. Look, if you want Sir Jim, fair play. If you want Althani, fair play. I think if you want Sir Jim, it's going to be very limited in what we do. If you want Althani, I think the sky would be the limit. They both bring their issues, of course they do, but no way does super wealth bring the Glazers back into play, and that's my big issue, and that's why I want a full sale. Who's going to get the number 4, says Glenny Boy. Hopefully it'll go to Varane now, when Phil Jones is gone. Wasn't there a story that Phil Jones wouldn't give up the number 4 for Varane when we bought him a couple of years ago? So yeah, hopefully that'll go to Varane now. If not, Kim Min-jae. Did a video yesterday. Really breaks it down why Kim Min-jae is the perfect centre-back for Man United this summer. And with a release clause there, you've got to go and get that deal done. You've got to go and get it done. I don't think he's going to sign a new deal at Napoli, so go and get that deal done. If we don't, someone else will. Thanks everyone for watching. Really enjoyed the show tonight. Hope you did as well. Traditional 8 o'clock show, all over the place with the chat. Loved it. Hope you did too. Remember, tomorrow night we've got a match going on. United AV says Sir Jim doesn't make sense in terms of the long-term value of the club. Qatar is on the way. Positive vibes only, says United AV. Well, let's hope a full sale is on the way. I'm back on the morning show tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Have a fantastic evening, whatever you're doing. Take care, everyone. Thanks for your company tonight. Really enjoyed it. Community was on fire as usual. Take care, and I'll speak to you in a bit. Don't forget Manscaped, 20% off and free worldwide shipping. Trim the grass to make the yard look bigger. The link is in the video description. And also you can scan the QR code next to me, which isn't there. But you can go through the link in the video description anyway. 20% off, free worldwide shipping.